Today, my lecture is focused around the last book of Durkheim, which is titled Professional Ethics and Civic Morals. The book is a collection of lectures which Durkheim gave between 1898 to 1915. As you know, Durkheim died in 1917. Therefore, this book is the final statement of Durkheim about his theoretical framework to study society in contemporary times. The lectures were given in French language. I will give the details of these lectures a little later. Some of the lectures were separately translated over a long period of time, but the book as a whole was not available to the English readers until 1992. It is unfortunate that this very significant book by Durkheim had not received the attention as it deserves. This important set of lectures is the most developed theoretical understanding of European industrial achievements in the fields of economy, polity, society, and religion as a moral framework of European collective enterprise in the earlier decades of 20th century. B.S. Turner writes in the introduction of Routledge Classics edition of Professional Ethics and Civic Morals, published in 2019, that there are many reasons for the neglect of this book. A convoluted history of its publication in different parts of time frame. Various chapters in this book were originally given as lectures. I am quoting Brian S. Turner. This book was originally given as lectures from 1898-99, then 1904 and 5, and then 1910 and 11, and then 1914 to 1915. And hence, Brian S. Turner says the volume is somewhat fragmented. Secondly, Brian Turner says that Durkheim's vocabulary and mode of expression have become foreign to readers of this book, Protestant Ethics and Civic Morals. This Turner is writing in 2019. Now, according to my limited understanding of sociological theory, Brian S. Turner's arguments, both arguments, are hilarious and biased. It is true that these lectures were given during 4 different occasions, and I agree with Brian Turner that these 4 different occasions are 1898, 99, then 1904-5, then 1910-11, and then 1914-15. You can call it A, B, C, D. It is, however, not fragmented in my opinion. Rather, these lectures are his final concluding statements on the themes he was working, teaching, or publishing during that period. These are not only coherent but also profound and enlightening. How? That you will know when I proceed to the other sections of my today's lectures. But let me add very emphatically that to the ears of the readers of 1992, when English edition of this book was published for the first time, or 2019, when a Routledge Classics edition with B.S. Turner's introduction was published, all the writings of Emile Durkheim's or Karl Marx's or Max Weber's vocabularies and writing styles have become foreign and dated. The truth is bitter in 2021, just 2 years after Turner's introduction in 2019, that today in 2021, the writings of B.S. Turner and his contemporaries do not make much sense to the ears and mentalities of contemporary youths anywhere in the global village. When epochs change, writing styles and vocabularies also change. It is, however, ironical that this book of Emile Durkheim uses the same vocabularies which he used in his other publications. The departure in this book lies in the style of writing books and the style of giving lectures. His books are usually big ones, and the message is mostly indirect, whereas the lectures were relatively very small, coherent, and full of direct messages. So far as I am concerned, this collection of lectures by Emile Durkheim is my favorite book. Yes, it may be my academic bias, and my academic bias is as good or as bad as the bias of B.S. Turner, Raymond Aron, or Talcott Parsons. Therefore, let us not go by different interpretations of this book by B.S. Turner or any other commentator who has commented on this book. You can also discount my bias, but as you know, I am a very honest teacher. I will give you the authentic version of this book's content. And you can verify my reading of the book, and I do textual analysis primarily, by referring to the book yourself. In case you read the book, then we find the following themes. What I am trying to say is that this book is not fragmented book. This is a very coherent book, but these were given as lectures on primarily three themes, but let me come to this one by one. Chapters 1, 2 and 3 are lectures on professional ethics. And in case you read these three chapters, it is very coherent theoretical view about professional ethics in French society in particular and European society in general when the lectures were given. And then chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. These are lectures which have one running theme, civic morals. Under this heading, civic morals, Durkheim is discussing the following sub-themes. Definition of the state. B. Relation of the state and the individual. C. Patriotism. D. Forms of the state, that is democracy. And then chapter 10 is related with duties of democratic institutions in general and homicide in particular. Then chapter 11 is related with the rule prohibiting attacks on property. Chapter 12, 13 and 14 are related with right of property, and chapter 15, 16, 17, 18 are related with right of contract. Thus we see that in 18 chapters, Durkheim had elaborated his views about 6 themes of classical sociology. Theme 1, professional ethics, is a critique of Protestant ethics of Weber, and it is a very coherent view within sociology of religion of his time. Today it is a foundational lecture in sociology of culture in post-colonial age. Theme 2, civic morals. These lectures or chapters are original and far-sighted contributions within political sociology, which are still relevant to the contemporary debates about power and morality in the time of corona pandemic of 2020-21. Theme 3, duties of democratic institutions and homicide are contribution in the philosophical sociology. Theme 4, 5 and 6 are original contributions in economic sociology or sociology of economic life. In my view, theme 1, that is professional ethics, and theme 3rd, duties of democratic institutions and homicide, can be read together. Thus, this view has 3 broader themes. Number 1, professional ethics, democratic duties and homicide. Number 2, civic morals in the democratic state. And number 3, theoretical understanding about property, legal contracts about property and legal rules to safeguard property. In this sense, it is elaboration of legal foundations of property laws in liberal democratic state. Now let us come to major arguments of this book, and I have divided it into 34 points. As you know, I break the book into simple, understandable sentences and paragraphs, and I expect that most of you will write it down. So that you can write it down, I will try my best to speak in slow pitch voice. Point number 1. For Durkheim, morality is a system of collective, external, objective rules that determine behavior. The science of morals and rights should be based on the study of moral and juridical facts. These facts consist of rules of conduct that have received social or legal sanction. Point 2. Durkheim very clearly underlined the negative social consequences of unregulated markets. His study of moral regulation is premised on the argument that the growth of industrial capitalism and free markets have created major social instability that he called anomie. ANOMIE. Durkheim writes on page 11 of this book, there exists today a whole range of collective activity outside the sphere of morals and which is almost entirely removed from the moderating effect of obligations. Now let us come to point 3. Durkheim was critical of socialist and classical economic theories alike, which hold that economic life, I am quoting him in direct narration, economic life is equipped to organize itself and to function in an orderly way and in harmony without any moral intervening. Point 4. The first two, that is point 2nd and 3rd, were from page number 11. Now let us come to page 13, and this is point 4. Durkheim concluded by saying that this immoral character of economic life amounts to a public danger. Now, point 5. In ethical criticism of modern economics, one common element is the idea that inequality cannot be easily justified by reference to economic arguments in favor of low taxation, small states, and global competition. The notion of enemy is relevant to understanding the political crises of modern society, where democracy itself is under threat by the behavior or misbehavior of powerful elites. Number 6, the instability of industrial society was connected to the decline of religion. Number 7, society cannot function adequately without a civil religion in quotes. This is a new concept Durkheim had introduced in these lectures in this book. Number 8, Durkheim was critical of the hold exercised by the Catholic Church over French society, but he saw the need for a civil religion to offset the force of individualism and the destructive consequences of unbridled economic competition. Number 9, the role of professional associations in civil religion. The functions of the state, the nature of contracts, legal as well as social, the rights of property, the study of morals from the perspective of an empirical sociology was unheard of in sociological discourse before the lectures of Durkheim. Therefore, we find not only theoretical but also methodological and technical innovation and advancement from empirical sociological point of view in these lectures. Professional ethics, according to Durkheim, refers to the moral and juridical norms to govern the relation of the individual to himself or herself, to the family and the professions. Number 11, civic morals, according to Durkheim, refers to the rules that determine the religion of the individual to political society. Here, Durkheim is introducing a new term which was not used in the discourse on political sociology before these lectures were given or published in the French language. Number 12, the political society, according to Durkheim, is a plurality of diverse groups, including families and professional groups, but within that political society, the state or nation state is the dominant feature. Number 13, these lectures on the state, political society, and the individual is the running theme from his first book, The Division of Labor in Society, written in 1893, to The Rules of Sociological Method, 1895, to the last published book of Durkheim, Sociology and Philosophy, in 1974. Therefore, this is wrong to say that this book is neglected by the sociological community, because it is either fragmented or it is, a book which uses dated writing style, or it uses vocabulary which was easily understood in 19th century or early 20th century than in 21st century. The real reason of the neglect of this book is the same politics of knowledge or politics of translation. This book was neglected because it contradicts the sociological canons of post-Second World War sociological discourse in English-speaking countries, and how it contradicts or departs from the sociological canon established by Talcott Parsons and his friends, and then revised by the successive generation of Robert Nisbet and Tom Bottomore. Let us come to those points from point 14 onwards. Social facts, this is point 14. Social facts are external to an exercise constant over the individual, typically involving a sanction. This is something which you all know. It is there in Rules of Sociological Method directly, and in the Division of Labor in Society indirectly. It is also there in the elementary forms of religious life, but what is new is the elaboration of this concept called social facts. Therefore, Durkheim said, when I fulfill my obligations, for example, as a citizen of the state, I perform duties which are defined by law and custom. Therefore, when Durkheim was writing about social facts as things in the uh, rules of sociological method, it was not clear so emphatically as it is now that social facts are primarily uh, duties of the members of solidarities which are defined by law and custom. Therefore, this is a new elaboration of the old concept of social fact. Number 15. The science of morals and rights should be based on the study of moral and juridical facts. This is also an elaboration of the same theme. These facts consist of rules of conduct that received sanction, social, legal, moral. Number 16. Durkheim was consistently concerned in his academic career to distinguish sociology as a separate discipline from either psychology or biology or philosophy. Therefore, Durkheim was not a great advocate of interdisciplinary approach. He believed in the disciplinary boundary theoretically, methodologically, and technically. He said, as a sociologist, we are not competent to study each and everything which is found in society. In case we try to do it, we will not be doing justice to the subject or object of our study, and then nobody will take us seriously. Then it will become either political rhetoric or serious journalism or armchair philosophy or individual psychology or an extension of biology. Then there is no need to do sociological work. And Durkheim said, sociology is a necessary need for the contemporary times. In case sociology is not developed as a separate, semi-autonomous discipline, the humanity will suffer necessarily, and we should not create academic enemy by fudging the technical, methodological, and theoretical boundary of the discipline called sociology. Number 17. Religious beliefs, morality, and the precepts of law are all the most characteristic manifestations of collective life. All are primarily obligatory. What he is doing? He is equating three terms: religion or religious, moral or morality, and law or legality. He is saying that these three concepts connote the same thing: sanctioned behavior or obligatory behavior within the collective life of the society or community or the nation state or the market or the army establishment. Number 18. Durkheim elaborates in his lectures on civic morals about the functions of the state as a moral agency in modern societies. Now, this is something which is neither acceptable to the Marxist sociologist or the Bavarian sociologist. Of course, it is in tune with the writings of Talcott Parsons since 1951 onwards. But people thought that this, value consensus or moral consensus as the essential function of a state was a very original contribution of Talcott Parsons. When you read this book, it appears Parsons just elaborated the ideas of Durkheim, which were part of these lectures. Number 19. Although liberalism, that is democratic capitalism, the ideology of democratic capitalism is called liberalism. Although liberalism had focused on the freedom and autonomy of individuals, Durkheim insists that our moral individuality, far from being antagonistic to the state, had, on the contrary, been a product of it. Page 74 in Professional Ethics and Civic Morals. I will read it again because this is a new argument. Although liberalism had focused on the freedom and autonomy of individuals, Durkheim insists that our moral individuality, far from being antagonistic to the state, had, on the contrary, been a product of the state as we know it. Point 20. The role of the state is to persevere in calling the individual to a moral way of life. In other words, Durkheim is saying very, very explicitly that there is no difference between the church and the state so far as structure is concerned, because both the Catholic Church in France or the Protestant state in France, Protestant means secular, Protestant state or secular state in France, both performs the same function. And what is that function? To create a moral community. In the language of Durkheim, the role of the state is to persevere in calling the individual to a moral way of life. Page 75. Point 21. Collective life is being slowly undermined by social and economic change. As France evolved in the late 19th century into an industrial society, the market was not regulated by the state. Now, with the decline of guild system, which was a feature of the pre-industrial society and market in France. Now, with the decline of guild system, a gap emerged between French civil society and the state. According to Durkheim, this is point 22. According to Durkheim, this gap could only be closed by the development of professional associations and a corresponding ethical system, that is professional ethics, professional associations and professional ethics. I am reading it again. Point 22. According to Durkheim, this gap could only be closed by the development of professional associations and a corresponding ethical system. Point 23. The absence of regulation in the business professions was of the greatest moment. That is, that in this whole sphere of social life, no professional ethics exists. This is page 10. Point 24. Sociology was to play a role in developing both professions and professional ethics. In other words, according to Durkheim, there was a gap which emerged between the French civil society and the French state during late 19th century, and this gap can be closed or breached by the development of professional associations and a corresponding ethical system or professional ethics. And then he analyzed that there is complete absence of professional ethics today in the French society. And then he said, that is our point 24, that this role, this function, this need to bridge the gap between the civil society and the state, this bridging the gap, this performance of the role cannot be performed by any other people. It can be performed only by the sociological community. This is an argument which was there in the founder of sociology, Auguste Comte, when he developed sociology as a secular, religion, as a secular religion. He said that sociology is a secular religion, whereas Catholic Church is a ancient religion. What is secularism? According to both Auguste Comte as well as to Emile Durkheim, we need a civic religion. He used or he preferred civic religion over the other term, secular religion, because secular religion is not a contradiction in terms. Secularism is very much a religion in Europe, and that religion is called Protestant religions. And within Protestant religions or within secular religions in Europe, we have three religions or religious communities: the Lutheran Christians of Germany, the Jungian Christians of Scandinavia, and the Calvinist Christians of France, United Kingdom, and United States of America. But Durkheim was very careful. He said that outside Europe, secular religion cannot be understood in the true sense of the term it is used in France or in Europe. Therefore, he said that let us use civic religion in place of secular religion. Civic religion is not necessarily Protestant religion. In other countries like India, it can be known by another name. In countries like Russia or China or Middle East or Africa, it can be known by any other name. It need not be necessarily rooted in European Reformation. A person who wants to be modern, a person who wants to be industrially advanced, a country which wants to be developed on the lines uh, on which Europe developed, or it's some of the colonies like United States of America, or Canada, or Australia developed. They need not call, their moral consensus, their constitutional, contracts as secular religion. It can be better understood and communicated by civic religion. Therefore, throughout the course, I have been, hinting at this point. But it is now that I am teaching the very book which articulates it most elaborately, that uh, in place of old religious system, in place of old religions, ancient religions, medieval religions, you need a civic religion. For some people, it can be secular or Protestant religion. Both are the same thing. European Protestants claim to be secular people. Therefore, when you are trying to argue in Iran that I am not a Shia Muslim, I am a secular Iranian, the state may punish you even by giving life, imprisonment, or you can be killed, because they understand that secular is Protestant Christianity, and why should a Muslim be a Christian just to imitate their economic or legal system? Therefore, Durkheim is saying that like Auguste Comte before him, without a developed science of society, that is sociology, professional ethics, civic religions cannot be developed in a way which is acceptable to all the countries in the global village. Therefore, both Auguste Comte and Emile Durkheim appealed to their followers that let sociology be a science. Let it not make an agency of, revolution, as Marxists were trying to do, or let it not be a medium of, religious conversion into Calvinism. Rather, we should take a neutral, value neutral, in the understanding of different social formations, which can be analyzed and understood within industrial, capitalist, urban civilization. Thank you.